because of course we spoke about the corruption in our system, the fact that it's really broken on a lot of levels, and we wouldn't have time to go into people profiting from every kind of broken part of our system. So I'll focus specifically on a story about those profiting from the sea people.
The sea
The sea people.
people
You know what?
invading.
These nicknames. Okay.
Well, you get the reference to the sea people or not?
The sea people. What, the Channelites?
No, but yes.
I mean, that sounds cooler. That sounds like something out of Star Wars.
But the sea people are a real thing in history, and now for us in real terms. And, well, they've been invading the UK, and the response from the British government has not been one of a country that puts its own interests first, which would be, you're a criminal, we put you back in France, which is what the Hungarians do with anyone crossing from Serbia. Instead, we just give them money. Well, we don't give them the money, do we? We take some rich friend of ours, who's a friend of the government, if we're the government, and say, okay, we'll give you a contract, house all these people, we give you a loads of money, and then you give us kickbacks. This is the pure corruption in a specific example in our country. And we can see how it really works, because thankfully we now have the deets. We'll start off by promoting something on lotusears.com, this being Ted Kaczynski's manifesto. Entirely unrelated, by the way. I just needed something to promote.
To be clear, we're not promoting Kaczynski's manifesto.
It's an explanation.
We're promoting a discussion of the manifesto. Yes,
the
that's
industrial
important.
society and its future and its consequences. Anyway, but the whole other thing. Let's go to our society, which is insane. I mean, this is just to make the point that it's not just this. There's obviously lots of other things I could endlessly speak on.
Oh yeah,
For people listening, we're looking at Turning Point UK tweeting out a image which was a hand putting a ballot in the Welsh elections. It was a white hand, and for some reason the BBC blacked up the hand because, well, it's run by insane people. They literally huff glue.
Well, and again, to your earlier point, this is something that only Europeans would do.
yeah. So honestly, if you dropped me,
yes,
if you dropped me in the UK. And I didn't know where I was, and I just turned on to TV and I was looking at ads. I would think I was in Brazil.
Yes.
Because every couple is some sort of mixed race. Even though they make up 3% of the
So that's the thing that gets me. And it's always a black man and a white woman.
Yeah.
It is never a black woman and a white man.
Guy, yeah, exactly.
Or a guy in his 60s with a 20-year-old Thai bride. It's it's never realistic. It is literally always a black man and a white woman.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I question the motive behind it. Why do they feel the need to do this? Look, I don't have a problem with it. People are people, whatever. But it's if I went back home to Ghana and I saw like sort of makeup billboards and all the women on it were Korean, I would have questions because West African women don't look Korean.
You wouldn't get a Nigerian election ad where they whited up.
This is the thing. So I question why. I mean, it's multicultural and I get it, but it's cringy and it doesn't seem necessary. And for me, I suspect there is I don't understand the reasoning behind it because I don't get it. I don't think it's necessary.
I mean, your example is very good, which is if you went to Ghana and then saw they changed them all for Koreans.
All the makeup ads and everything.
And then you went and met the people who had done this. You'd probably find that they're all politically captured in some new age, ridiculous political worldview that Koreans are the super race or something. I mean, that would be the only possible explanation.
But the thing is, whenever people say like, "Oh, I was in a room with like so many white people," I'm like, Britain is a Northern European country. What do you think Northern Europeans?
Well, if you live in London,
90%. But this is the thing. But London is not the UK, and I say this as someone who lives in it's not representative of the entire United Kingdom, and I don't understand this kind of insecurity around that. I don't understand the insecurity around
because we're run by psychopaths.
Well, I mean,
the psychopath who does this is a psychopath.
Look, it doesn't offend me. I just don't get it personally. I don't understand it.
Before I move on from this, there is actually your point of the idea of a African country whiting up. It did happen.
Oh, really?
The Nigerian government had to pass a law, in fact, to insist that I think.
I stand corrected.
They said that
was it skin bleaching?
It was about. Well, no, they kept having white people in the adverts, so they passed a law saying 80% of all Nigerian adverts must have black people in them.
Yeah,
because they kept doing it to be like African reasons. But getting back into it, because I didn't want to have a conversation about this particular problem. It's just to demonstrate there is insanity on all fronts in our society because of the people who run it. But the migrant situation we can most easily explain. Because, I mean, the previous one, that's just people who are off their rocker. I mean, if they were sniffing meth, they would have more of a reason to do what they're doing than why they're actually doing it. But here's the story. Hotel tycoons, security firm bosses, can't read that word because I'm stupid,
crash managers.
Crash managers?
Yeah, crash, like baby.
Oh, that's how you write
like
that.
kindergartens, like babies, basically. Nurseries.
I've only ever seen
nurseries, that's it.
I've only ever heard that word. That's
it's
a
French. It's actually French. Should have an accent.
Oh, that's a good thing. I'm never learning it then. Just some of the scores of people ranking monstrous sums every single day through the asylum seeker crisis. Of course, none of these people.
So this dude is getting 14 million a day for looking after the sea people?
We will find worse. So the sea people, of course, I've been and met them. I went to Serbia and I went to a migrant camp and interviewed the guys, and all of them said they were coming to the UK because of money.
Oh, yes.
Right, so you have to excuse me for anyone who's not familiar. I don't give a crap about these people because when you ask them why they came, they are not fleeing war or persecution. They are not someone.
Well, the overwhelming majority are economic migrants, and I know this because
I hate that.
Genuine asylum seekers don't have money to be paying people smugglers and all of that. I mean,
sorry to be a bit rude, but because I've had this myself, where I've started saying like irregular migration and these weasel words that are always in the media that we pick up. Economic migrant. What the hell does that mean?
It's just they're coming.
That's a guy who, like, that's a guy that broke into your country because he wants your money. I'm sorry, if someone breaks into my house and then is like, "Give me a job."
Well, the thing
like, get out.
I think economic migrant. I don't know if it's the nice word because what would you call it? Commercial migrant? Because clearly there's a financial incentive for them to move.
But that word, it never gets applied to someone who has come for a job through the legal means. Like if I apply for a work visa to the UK and get one, like I'm usually described as an expat. Yeah, or expat or some word like this. Economic migrant only ever gets described to Mohammed from Morocco.
Oh, I see what you mean. The dichotomy is strange.
He couldn't find a good enough paying job, as in, like, he had a job that paid for his rent and his life, and he was earning money if he saved it instead of spending it on booze. But he just couldn't be bothered, so he thought he'd break into Spain.
Okay. I see your point. It doesn't Okay, so what?
And that's
what
the people I met in Serbia.
What would we say? What would we call it?
Bastards.
I mean, the thing is, like,
well, the old term is illegal alien, so I would use that one because it's.
Actually, to be honest, I think illegal migrant is fine. But the thing is, people that say, "Oh, no one is illegal," well, you're moronic because the definition of illegal in this context is someone who doesn't enter the UK via a port of entry, like an airport, for instance, or like an actual port, like legally, the legal route. So I think I think illegal migrant is fine.
I'd prefer criminal entrant or something like that because
piss take or anything else.
Well, I know this is uncomfortable to say, but the vast majority of them are men.
It's not comfortable.
The vast majority are young men.
99%. I mean, it's uncomical, frankly.
I mean, I think, if you're genuinely fleeing a war zone, you should be ashamed that you're leaving women.
I think there is a good reason why the overweight 40-year-old feminists are so in favour of this kind of immigration.
Yeah. I didn't want to get in a whole debate about that situation because we all are well aware how criminal this all is.
Yes.
Although Care for Calais having sex with their clients is a whole other concept. But I want to talk about the millionaires here who are just taking the piss, frankly. And I can make a defense of them, which is,
good on them. Make money off government incompetence.
Screw it. The government's going to give me money for selling out the country. Why not become a millionaire while it sinks? But that argument kind of loses steam when we've seen hotels across the country who were offered these £1 million contracts and went, screw you, to the central government. We've been through various small run places that are called like the White Hart or something else. These homely hotels who were offered, here's £2 million a year for housing these people who are taking the piss just to get them off our back. And these tiny little run businesses all went, and
because
those people are patriotic. Yeah, but these people are not just heroes. They're like patriotic prophets or something. Like they're actually living and showing us the way of how to defend your own nation in a day-to-day sphere. And these individuals decided, I like money. So, we'll read this. With Britain facing a permanent migrant backlog, costing the taxpayer £5 billion now a year. Used to be in the millions. Anyway, so the industry has become rather profitable, they write. Such companies will inevitably reap more dividends as the Home Office continues to struggle with enacting the law and says they now have 175,000 foreigners in the system. That's gone up another 20,000 this year, 5,000 this month alone.
I mean, I think yesterday had the highest number of immigrant intake in one day.
Yeah, it's funny what happens when you set up a system where you need guaranteed customers to keep the corrupt flow of cash.
And you make many people along that chain incredibly rich for doing so.
So,
well, I mean,
who are they?
I mean, of these people.
Yeah, this one here. This is Debbie. Debbie, I'm sure, she, keeps the house rather well. There we are. I'm a fan of her gardening. Dress sense, that's lovely. I'm sure she bakes wonderful cakes. But Debbie, well, you did choose the money, didn't you? So you deserve the scorn, which is she gets paid £2.2 million a year to facilitate this.
Wow.
The way she facilitates it is providing accommodation to these people who are breaking into our country because we literally will give them free money by the state. It's not us, it's the state, of course, stealing our money. Well, they write about her life here. Should we read a little bit about her life? Glad she's doing well. She and her husband Peter have used the profits to fund a lavish lifestyle, which includes a string of exotic trips to events such as the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and jaunts to Dubai, Bhutan, the Indian Taj Mahal as well, among them. Debbie and her husband live in a £3 million converted mill in West Yorkshire with a swimming pool, jacuzzi, and a basement wine cellar. That's nice.
That is a beautiful garden.
Honestly, I'm very jealous. I love the lake.
They also linked the property to a cottage via a glass spiral staircase. That's nice. I love interior design like that. That's fantastic. Aside from its rich pickings from the Home Office, Keldar, the company she runs, was reported to have been in secret talks in 2020 with the Ministry of Justice to take 2,000 prisoners to a Butland holiday camp in Skegness to ease the prisons. Obviously, that was not proper and, in my opinion, retarded. So that plan was scrapped, thankfully, although I wouldn't be surprised if the government did go through with it in the end. But thankfully, they didn't. The house you can see here with its lovely garden there, I mean, for people listening, the word heaven comes to mind.
That's a perfectly manicured garden.
I mean, if you picture your life in heaven and it's a huge house with a massive, I mean, that is it, really. That's the view.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you say she's getting 2 million a year. I mean, even if you're getting 200 million a year, you probably wouldn't do much better than that.
No?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the upper ceiling.
Well, for some reason, they listed some more information in the Daily Mail here. They obviously can't give you the postal code, and also I won't because that would be a crime. But I did manage to find out where she lives from the data given. And so I looked up where she lived. For some reason, Debbie and Peter over here, who live quite the nice life, facilitating the illegal invasion. Again, not their fault. The government's going to give them the money. Why not take it? You could argue. You could argue that.
Yeah.
Well, they decided to live in an area that's 92.5% white British.
Oh, shocker.
Okay.
That's going to be a running theme, in case you're wondering. I love that the government did give us the ethnic data map. I don't know if you've seen it. It's quite fun.
They didn't put themselves in an apartment next to the hotel then? Which has
They would never. They disturb their sleep.
You think that they would be anywhere near such people is probably how they'd phrase it. They're not the only ones. There's the contract king. This guy is the best of the best, let's say, in terms of moneymaker. He runs Clearspring. 25 million quid a year. So that's 2 million a month. So what's that? About 500,000 a week. So he's on a footballer wage. There we are. Clear Springs, in case you're wondering, they got given the license to run all of the accommodation for the south of England. So you know how you might cut up, drug territory about which cartel gets which turf? For some reason, the government decided to do the same scheme.
Assuming the civil servants that facilitated this are not completely incompetent, that would mean that this is probably the cheapest way they could do it.
There was some accusations that for some reason, some of the civil servants, particularly the permanent secretaries, were having meetings with the people who run the various companies. For some reason, they didn't pay a bill when they had these meetings at 5-star hotels in London. Didn't influence their decisions, I'm sure. Anyway, so for some reason, they offered the entire south of the English, land to this man to operate these.
So he's the sea people czar for the south?
Yes, he is. Again,
I like that, czar.
His fiefdom is completely legal and gets 25 million out of it. The 2021 budget, the firm's takings from the Home Office, came out of the government's foreign aid budget for some reason, which amounted to £500 million.
Well,
so
I suppose at least if it's money that we're just going to throw away anyway, might as well make this Blofeld chap.
Who should be the most infuriated by this? Homeless people.
Yes.
Homeless. Honestly,
homeless veterans as well.
Yeah, honestly, well, yes. I mean, yes, certainly, but just homeless people in general. Because in as much as I'm like, obviously, you're not entitled to anything in this life. You have to work for everything you get. It's just the audacity to do this.
I mean, personally, I might be the most angry man alive about this right now.
And you're not even homeless.
Yeah. No, I mean, to be fair, how's
imagine all you had to do was to come across a boat and, I don't know, be called like Mahmoud from somewhere. You know what I mean?
Well, you say he's not homeless, but he doesn't own a house either because...
He does. Well, in Afghanistan, I met some of these people.
Yes.
They own houses. They have families in Afghanistan. Yeah. You know why they came to Europe? Because Mama Merkel said come, and they did.
Yeah.
And the two guys...
2 million or 1 million?
Yeah, the two guys I did met in Afghanistan who did this, they told me that they did it just because they could.
What was the figure of the migrant influx in Germany? Was it 1 million or 2 million?
Millions and millions.
Oh, in Germany?
Yeah.
It was well over
1% of their population per year came. And their population's like 50 mil, so it's about 5 mil. So that's
well, Germany's population is around 80 mil.
Oh, it was 8 million then. So I remember it was 1% of the pop. So
good lord.
That's fantastic. Anyway, again, what does this man do for his life? Well, he gets £500 million from the government. So that's money. Right. He took it out of the foreign aid budget. Who gives a crap, frankly, about that? So you got that.
Redirected the foreign aid. The foreign aid is now on our shores.
Took
We must aid the foreign on our shores.
Took 25 million for himself. So, I mean, my point being, you ever noticed how the people making bank don't care about the destruction of the country? And we do because we live next to his hotels, actually. 2 of them are near my house. So, Thanks, Graham. Anyway, here's a 56-year-old who has a personal share of the profits, 25 million there per year. Meaning that he received more than the British colony of Ghana in foreign aid. I don't know if you can advise us. Does Ghana actually ever need foreign aid?
Certainly more than this man. Well, certainly more than the people coming across here. I can tell you that much. Even though most of it gets gobbled up by our politicians, but I will not say that.
Well, I changed my mind. Instead of calling them sea people, can we call them floaters? I think I like that better.
I prefer sea people.
Well, floatees.
If you know what sea people.
Floatees, yes.
No, that sounds like a turd. So I don't think you.
Do you not know what sea people means?
What?
You don't know what sea people means either.
Go on then.
I've become the classicist over here. Who's bigoted about no one knowing the classics. They're the people who cause the Bronze Age collapse. So, okay, we're going to go on to story time now, folks. Ignore the news.
Okay, sure.
So there was once upon a time a bunch of Bronze Age civilizations. They were doing lovely. And then for some reason, the historical record of them just disappears. Like everything collapsed out of the blue. These complex civilizations. And everyone wondered why. But one of the reasons is that these people came from the sea. Nobody has any idea where they came from. They're a completely, almost mythical group of people, but they are real for sure. They turned up and just plundered and destroyed every civilization they came across until the Egyptians miraculously survived a few battles with them. And this is like an apocalyptic event for all of humanity at the time. Anyway, so these people who come into Europe and then destroy everything, I think are kind of apt.
Sea people.
Yeah. Anyway, but so this guy here, he also sends his son and daughter to a £44,000 a year boarding school. That's 88 grand.
On the cheap.
Yeah, that's we paid for that. Yep. He also
listen,
lives...
you know what? I admire. I mean, listen, my moral compass wouldn't let me do this, but I admire people who do. Because at the end of the day, the fault lies with the government, right? For just making this happen. I've often said, the difference between the asylum acceptance rate upon first application in Europe is about 37%. In the UK, it's 77%. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to get why they're choosing to try their luck with the UK, even though they're coming from mainland Europe.
Well, they're queued up on the northern border of France. They're already in France. So
exactly.
There. But exactly. Why would you not trade, 37% for 73%?
77%.
77%.
But the solution here is refuse more and turn them away. Yes. It really is not that difficult.
Or just trebuchet them back into the sea or something. I don't know.
Human rights.
So Graham operates 2 hotels right near my house. They're both are full of the sea people, and he gets money for doing that. My money. Because I'm paying taxes. Should we check out where he lives?
Oh.
Want to guess?
Does he live in Essex?
It's not next to his hotels, is it?
He lives
like South End on Sea or something.
He lives in a listed mansion in rural Essex. This isn't doxing him, for anyone who's wondering, because rural Essex is a large area. So I just took a random part of rural Essex. There you are. 93.5% white British. Weird how he never wants to live next to what he made me live to. Because those hotels used to have people who were tourists in, and now I live next to people who are not tourists. Thanks, Graham. Anyway, there's also some other funniness about Graham specifically. He's the one who's taking the most money, so we'll focus on him the most. He actually made a pledge to his own friends. None of them will live near us. South Essex, no refugees here pledge. This is from Graham himself, Clear Springs Management, as you can see there. He's talking about his holiday camps that he runs for him and his friends and clients, in which, don't worry, we won't have those riffraff. We stick them in Swindon, or London, or wherever the hell else I don't live. There we are. I mean, again, you can say that he's a, businessman, but I don't know. I don't think patriotic about these people, I would argue. Back to these individuals. I would have stronger words. Anyway, there's a hotel billionaire as well. Sorry, I think millionaire. He's not quite a billionaire. This guy here, his fortune is £250 million. He gets 100 grand a day in profit.
What?
That's nice chump change. That's going well. There's also Winston Churchill's grandson. He's also one of the people. Basically not a patriot. I think you cannot be described a patriot after doing this. After so many hotels did turn down the money, he make quite a lot less than £4.4 million a day. Rupert, you think about your granddad? No. He's educated in Eton and Oxford, and then was a member of the Bullingdon Club, because of course the male being the male, that's how they're going to phrase it, which isn't too unfair either. I've mentioned previously, the reason I'm doing this as well, I will always say something like, the millionaires who run our country who never have to interact with these problems. When talking about a local man happens to stab someone to death near where we live or something like that. Yeah, these are what I'm talking about. I'm not some leftist who's like, the millionaires and billionaires. Who are they? Well, not me, but I am a millionaire, says Bernie. No, I mean these individual human beings. Like, we have the list. I remember when we were talking about the shadow people who run the American government, and the New York Times said, I can't believe Carlson says this of the American system, that it's run by shadowy oligarchs. Now, here's the list of people he names. And it was like, Bill Gates, Soros, etc.
Darlings.
How could he say that these people run America? I mean, look at them. They're all billionaires who run America. It doesn't work, this weird argument against the right, because, we'd come with receipts normally as to who they are.
But, it's quite telling because, I mean, obviously these people are not acting in the nation's interest, clearly, only their own. But even the people that kind of, I would say, are in the media circles, many of whom are, I would call the M25 elite, many of whom I meet, I often tell them, you never have to be near the problems that you create with your ignorance that you disseminate in the media. You live in Hampstead, you live in, Belsize Park, you live in cushy areas in North and West London, and you never actually have to deal with the problems that you create. And you've never had an interaction with the British immigration system, so you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't know how distasteful this is for legal immigrants. You don't know how much of a drain it is on society, on social cohesion. You don't have to think about any of that. You just say no one is illegal and then take your 400 quid a day.
It must be very frustrating just being legal migrants being lumped in with illegal migrants, of course, as if there's no difference.
But the thing is, for various reasons, obviously because, we came the legal way, but also the motivations are completely different. Like, people that come legally have a different kind of respect for the country they're entering. You would hope that they come with values that resonate with British culture.
You wouldn't move to somewhere that you fundamentally didn't like.
Well, of course. And I mean, one of the points I made about Brexit was actually it's probably in the country's best interest to have more deeper ties and relations with countries that were formerly part of the empire and now part of the Commonwealth, because they share the same language, they share the same culture and religion and all of that. It in terms of social cohesion, it just makes more sense. But obviously, people that are not interested in any of that, that are interested in just taking their money and living in North London, they're more concerned with just saying these people are not illegal, and I find that extremely frustrating.
Well, they just don't know what's real, as you correctly
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my go-to example, for example, is Ji-yeon Park. She's a conservative councillor candidate. She's North Korean. She had a couple of kids. For some reason, if we sent her back to North Korea, she might have been in trouble. So
maybe
we've got her, and then you've got Mohammed, who broke in because money. Yeah, I mean, for some reason, one of these people isn't illegal and one of them is.
The question I have, because a lot of these people destroy their paperwork upon entry. So where do you send them back to?
Well, you send them back to France. So if you could get the French government to agree that, yes, he obviously came from you, we watched him on the camera, you actually escorted him to our waters, your boat there, but whole other conversation. Just to get back to the individuals making money, this guy here, Winston Churchill's grandson, who does not care about the country his father defended, he lives, funnily enough, again, in an area that is 99% white British, somewhere very north.
In Scotland?
Yes, in Scotland.
I got it right.
It's amazing, isn't it? These people have a...
Oh, he lives in Inverness.
Should we talk about the people who interact with the system? Because you brought them up. Yeah. People who do. Well, there's one guy in here who makes a lot of money out of the situation, and this guy is an outlier because he actually makes his money by running a company that deports people. And the Mail lumped him in, which I thought was kind of funny. So his pay is about £6 million a year. Which, all right.
Deporting who? We don't deport anyone.
Well, they don't actually do much of the deportation, but they're holding for deportations that never happen. So he's the largest provider of immigration removal center management and escorting services to the Home Office, which currently has 13,000 detainees. That's 13,000 people who should be deported today. They won't be, but they're in the process.
He provides escorts to the Home Office.
Yeah, so his staff actually engage with such people.
Escorts?
No, not like that.
Okay. I just need clarification.
We offer them, we do buy them game systems and other entertainment, but not, as far as I'm aware,
right,
conjugal visit entertainment. Anyway, so he has 14 staff
chiropractic services
who were recently suspended. These people were suspended for a racist WhatsApp messages that they made. And they write here, including vile comments about Syrian refugees swimming to the UK. What do you mean? That's what they do.
I was just about to say, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's been footage of them getting off the boat and then swimming on shore.
So I checked out The Guardian to see, because you always find it funny, there's a racist WhatsApp story, and they never tell you the WhatsApp messages, so I checked that out. So The Guardian have it. And they write in here that one remark in the group was a comment of a photo of a Chinese restaurant with the closed sign on after the first COVID lockdown was announced.
Mm-hmm. Is that it?
That was it. That was it.
Oh, okay. I see, because of the links between COVID. I mean, but that could be.
I don't care. That's not racist.
Exactly. That's not. I mean, like, I made.
Want to know the other racist message they put in there?
Okay.
They put in a photo of a dinghy with the caption, "Where's Gary Lineker's house?"
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is funny. Anyway, 8 of them got suspended without pay. The rest suspended with pay.
Those are rookie memes. Got to pump up
those are definitely rookie memes.
So I mean, this guy, yeah, he gets a free pass. There's some other millionaires on there. They're less important. The main ones have been pointed out. My point being that there are millionaires making this money out of him. We can name them. It's not a case of shadowy figures. No, they're very much in the light. But just to end this off, which is that, well, that's my point. There are people making money out of every corrupt aspect of our society, and we can individually name them in articles such as this. There is nothing to hide here, exactly. And I'm sick of people thinking that this isn't the case of how we live. I mean, going back to that example from the BBC, a lot of people making money off that, and we can name them as well, but one instance at a time, because even this overran. If you appreciated that episode from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Symposium series, this one on Schopenhauer and suffering. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.